Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Build Your English. I'm your host, Jessica, and I'm so happy you decided to tune in today. I hope you are having a calm and centered moment right now, wherever you are listening. Maybe you are wrapped up in a blanket with a warm cup of tea, or maybe you are just settling into a comfortable chair. Today, we are slowing down, taking a deep breath, and diving into a topic that is truly universal and deeply personal. We are talking about sleep, rest, and relaxation. These aren't just things we do, they are fundamental needs. And talking about them naturally and fluidly in English is a beautiful way to build connection with others. It shows empathy and it gives you a common ground with literally every person you meet. Let's start at the beginning. In the morning, when the sun is just starting to filter through the window, or maybe when your alarm clock has just gone off far too early, we need the right vocabulary to describe how we feel when we first wake up. The simplest question, the one you'll hear almost every day, is, "Did you sleep well last night?" That's your polite, formal opener, perfect for the office or a casual meeting. If you're talking to a friend or a family member, you might hear a more relaxed version, something like, "Get much sleep last night?" That phrasing, "get much sleep," is very common and casual. You can also ask, "Are you feeling rested this morning?" That word rested is lovely. It describes the feeling of having enough energy for the day ahead. Now, let's consider your answer. If you had a wonderful night, you want to convey that feeling of deep restoration. You can say, "I slept like a baby." That's a beautiful, gentle idiom meaning you slept very deeply and soundly without waking up. Another lovely phrase is, "I slept soundly for 8 hours." Soundly means peacefully, without interruption. You can also express enthusiasm by saying, "I feel completely refreshed," or "I woke up feeling fantastic, ready to take on the day." Notice how using words like completely and fantastic adds emotion and color to your simple statement. But what happens when sleep doesn't cooperate? When the night feels too short or your mind just won't stop racing? This is where we need vocabulary to talk about the struggle. You can be dramatic and say, "I didn't sleep a wink last night." A wink is a tiny blink, so saying you didn't sleep a wink means you didn't sleep at all. Of course, this is often an exaggeration, but everyone understands the deep fatigue it implies. Perhaps you spent the night fighting for comfort. In that case, you say, "I was tossing and turning all night." Tossing and turning beautifully paints the picture of moving constantly in bed, unable to find a comfortable position. You might follow that up with, "I'm dragging today." Dragging is a very natural way to describe feeling heavy and slow because of lack of sleep. I often say this to my friends. "I'm really dragging my feet this morning. I only got about 4 hours of rest." It's important to share the cause of the bad sleep too, if you feel comfortable. You can say, "I had a bout of insomnia." A bout is a short period of intense activity, in this case, the inability to sleep. Or perhaps, "My mind was racing with all the things I needed to do today." The word racing is so descriptive of that overwhelming feeling when your thoughts won't slow down. Moving into the middle of the day, that time after lunch when your energy starts to dip, this is where we talk about the need for rest and downtime. This isn't necessarily about sleeping, it's about pausing. If you are feeling a lack of energy, you can say, "I'm hitting a wall right now." Hitting a wall is an excellent English idiom that means you have reached your limit of energy and you can't continue without a break. You might say, "I feel like I'm running on fumes." Running on fumes means you have almost no energy left, like a car with barely any gasoline. We often talk about the need for a short break. You can say, I need to step away from my desk for a few minutes. Or, I think I'll take a quick power nap. A power nap is a short, strategic rest, usually 15 or 20 minutes, designed to restore energy quickly. It's not deep sleep, just a quick recharge. I have a friend who absolutely swears by her 15-minute power nap every afternoon. She says it completely changes her second half of the day. When offering a break to someone else, you can use supportive language. Try saying, why don't you take 5 minutes to clear your head? The phrase clear your head means to empty your mind of stress or worry. Or you might say, let's take a breather. A breather is a moment to stop and relax. It makes the conversation feel collaborative and caring. Now, let's delve deeper into relaxation, because true rest often requires more than just lying down. It requires intentional action. We can talk about how we wind down and what activities help us feel peaceful. I find that for true relaxation, I need a ritual, something I do every day to transition my mind from being on to being off. You can share your own ritual by saying, my favorite way to unwind is by listening to classical music. The verb unwind is perfect here. It means to relax after a period of work or tension. Think of unwinding a tight coil, releasing the pressure. We often use the term digital detox when talking about relaxing. This means taking a break from screens, phones, and computers. You can say, I try to do a digital detox every Sunday evening, or I need to unplug for a few hours this afternoon. Unplug is a very modern and common verb that means disconnecting from technology. It's essential vocabulary for today's busy world. Many people find solace in nature. You can describe this by saying, nothing helps me relax more than a long, quiet walk in the woods. Or, I find gardening to be incredibly soothing. The word soothing means gently calming. I personally love to spend time near water. There is something inherently peaceful about the sound of the ocean or a quiet river. It helps me to truly slow my internal pace. You might share a quiet activity by saying, I've taken up knitting as a form of meditation. Or, reading a good fiction book helps me escape for a while. The idea of escaping is a lovely way to talk about the mental rest you get from reading. You're leaving your stress behind and entering another world. Let's discuss the language of bedtime routines. This is the structure you put in place to ensure you fall asleep easily. When talking about preparing for sleep, we use the verb wind down. You can say, I start winding down an hour before bed. What does that routine involve? You can share the specifics. Perhaps you say, I always drink a cup of chamomile tea to relax my nerves. Or, I make sure to dim the lights so my body knows it's time to settle. The verb settle is a soft, comforting word for preparing for rest. If you use reading to relax, you can say, reading is my go-to activity before bed. The phrase go to means your standard or preferred choice. If you listen to something, you might say, I listen to a gentle podcast to drift off. Drift off is a beautiful, peaceful way to say fall asleep. Sometimes we need to talk about difficulties with falling asleep. You can say, I've been having trouble switching off my brain at night. Switching off is a metaphorical way of saying your mind is too active. Or you might share a trick that helps you. I count backwards from 100 when I can't fall asleep. It's important to talk about the atmosphere of rest, too. You can describe your bedroom by saying, I need my room to be completely dark and cool to get quality sleep. Quality sleep means deep, restful sleep, not just any sleep. Or perhaps you talk about sound. I use a white noise machine to block out the city noises. Block out means to prevent the noise from reaching you. Let's move into a more reflective space, talking about stress and well-being. Rest and relaxation are often about managing stress. When you feel stressed, you can say, I feel completely burnt out. Burnt out is a strong and popular way to describe being exhausted mentally and physically from working too much. If you hear someone say this, you must offer support. You can say, you really need to take some time off. Or, you should prioritize some downtime. Prioritize means to make something the most important thing. We often talk about the feeling of being overwhelmed. You can say, I feel overwhelmed by my workload. Or, I need a mental health day. A mental health day is taking the day off work or school specifically to rest and recover from stress. This is a very accepted and necessary phrase in modern English conversation. You might share your strategy for managing the stress. You can say, I try to practice mindfulness for 10 minutes every afternoon. Mindfulness is the practice of focusing completely on the present moment. This is a common and excellent technique for relaxation. Another strategy is to say, I need to recharge my batteries. Recharge my batteries is another wonderful idiom, meaning you need to restore your energy like recharging a phone. Think about the contrast between activity and stillness. You can say, I am usually very active, but this weekend I am embracing stillness. Embracing stillness means welcoming and choosing quietness and inactivity. It's a very descriptive and reflective way to talk about your need for rest. You might also talk about boundaries. I've decided to set stricter boundaries this week so I don't get run down. Set boundaries means creating limits on what you allow others to ask of you. Run down means becoming exhausted or sick from overwork. When you are asked about your relaxation techniques, be ready to offer specific, detailed answers. For example, instead of just saying, I relax by reading, you can say, I find that losing myself in a complex historical novel is the only thing that truly lets my body relax after a long day. This level of detail makes the conversation much more interesting and engaging. Or perhaps you use food to relax. You can say, my ultimate form of relaxation is baking bread. The methodical action of kneading the dough helps quiet my busy mind. Methodical means done carefully and systematically, and quiet my busy mind is a beautiful way to describe the effect of the activity. You might also talk about your guilt related to rest, which is a very relatable feeling. You can say, I often feel guilty for taking a break, but I know it's necessary for my productivity. This opens up a deeper conversation about work-life balance. Or you can state your philosophy simply. I believe that rest is not a reward. It is a tool. Let's quickly review the most important vocabulary we covered today, the words that will make your conversation sound most natural. Use rested instead of just good. Use tossing and turning instead of I couldn't sleep. Use unwind and recharge instead of just relax. Use hitting a wall and burnt out to describe extreme fatigue. Using these stronger, more evocative phrases is how you transition from an A2 speaker to a confident B1 speaker. Remember that talking about sleep, rest, and relaxation is an act of self-care and a wonderful way to connect with others. When you share your own experiences and challenges, you give the other person permission to share theirs. It builds a deeper, more empathetic conversation than just talking about the weather. Try to practice using one new phrase today. Maybe tell someone, I need to take a breather this afternoon. Or maybe tell a friend, I hope you get a chance to completely unwind this evening. The more you use these phrases, the more comfortable they will become and the more fluent you will sound. And that is our comprehensive guide to talking about the gentle necessities of rest. I really hope this detailed, slow-paced session gives you the confidence to speak softly and deeply about your own well-being. Thank you so much for listening to Build Your English. Please remember to subscribe if this episode was helpful to you. Dear learner, keep learning, keep speaking, and please take care of yourself. Prioritize your rest and keep connecting with the world.